Poor Little Black Fellow by Langston Hughes, 5. When Arnie woke up, it was 3 o'clock. This time, Grace Pemberton had actually banged on the door. Arnie was frightened. He'd never slept so late before. What would the Pembertons think? "Whatever is the matter, Arnold?" Mrs. Pemberton called. Only when she put it out did she call him Arnold. Only when she was put out did she call him Arnold. "Up late reading," Arnold muttered through the closed door. "I was up late reading." And then he was promptly ashamed of himself for having lied. "Well, hurry up," Mrs. Pemberton said. "We're going to start for Versailles." "I don't want to go," said Arnold. "Whatever is the matter with you, boy?" gasped Grace Pemberton. Arnie had slipped on a bathrobe, so he opened the door. "Good morning," he said. "I've met some friends. I want to go out with them." The contrariness of late adolescence was asserting itself. He felt stubborn and mean. "Friends?" said Grace Pemberton. "What friends, may I ask?" "A colored student and some others." "Where did you meet them?" "Next door, at Miss Lawrence's." Grace Pemberton stiffened like a bolt. "Get ready, young man," she said, "and come with us to Versailles." She left the room. The young man got ready. Arnie pouted, but he went with the Pembertons. The sun gave him a headache, and he didn't give a damn about Versailles. That evening, after a private lecture by Mr. Pemberton on the evils of Paris, Grace and Emily had spoken about the beauty of the city. He went to bed feeling very black and sick. For several days he wasn't himself at all, what with constant excursions to museums and villages and chateaux, when he wanted to be with Vivi and Harry and Claudina. Once he did sneak away with Harry to meet Vivi. Meanwhile, the Pembertons lectured him on his surliness. They were inclined to be dignified and distant to the poor little black fellow now. After all, it had cost them quite a lot to bring him to Paris. Didn't he appreciate what they were doing for him? They had raised him. Had they no rights to forbid him going about with a crowd of Negroes from the theaters? "He's a black devil," said Mr. Pemberton. "Poor little fellow," said Grace. She was a little sorry for him. "After all, he doesn't know he's young. Let us just try loving him and being very nice to him." So once again, the Pembertons turned loose on Arnie their niceness. They took him to the races. They bought him 6 French ties from a good shop. They treated him better than if he were their own. But Arnie was worse than ever. He stayed out all night one night. Grace knew because she knocked on his door at 2 o'clock. And the Negroes next door, how they laughed, how they danced, how the music drifted through the windows. It seemed as if the actual devil had gotten into Arnie. Was he going to the dogs before their very eyes? Grace Pemberton was worried. After all, he was the nearest thing she'd ever had to a son. She was really fond of him. As for Arnie, it wasn't the devil at all that had got him. It wasn't even Claudina. It was Vivi, the little girl he had met through Harry at the Martinique ball. The girl who played Chopin on the piano and had gray eyes and black hair and came from Romania. By himself, Arnie had managed to find from the address she had given him the tall house near the Parc Monceau, where she lived in an attic room. Up 6 flights of stairs he walked. He found her with big books on theory in front of her and blank music pages working out some sort of exercise in harmony. Her little face was very white, her gray eyes very big, and her black hair all fluffy around her head. Arnie didn't know why he had come to see her, except that he liked her very much. They talked all afternoon, and Arnie told her about his life at home, how white people had raised him, and how hard it was to be black in America. Vivi said it didn't make any difference in Romania, or Paris either, about being black. "Here it is only hard to be poor," Vivi said. But Arnie thought he wouldn't mind being poor in a land where it didn't matter what color you were. "Yes, you would mind," Vivi said. "Being poor is not easy anywhere, but then," her eyes grew bigger, "by and by the revolution will come. In Romania the revolution will come, in France too. Everywhere poor people are tired of being poor." "What revolution?" Arnie asked, for he hadn't heard about it in Mapleton. Vivi told him. "Where we live it's quiet," he said. "My folks come from Massachusetts." And we'll pause there.